So, hello, good afternoon everyone. I'm André Veríssimo. I'm Deputy Editor-in-Chief of the Portuguese business digital newspaper Echo. And it's a pleasure to be at Planetiers World Gathering and in this beautiful city of Aveiro. In this session, we'll talk about a very hot topic, artificial intelligence, and how it can be used to achieve social and environmental goals. And also to talk about this important subject, we'll have with me Alexandre Karim. He has been dedicating his career to build responsible tech products as a product consultant. Aline Fróes, social and tech entrepreneur, founder and CEO at VinaWeb in Sofia. And Ricardo Santos, co-founder and CTO at AssetFloow, a Portuguese IA startup that developed the world's most accurate predictive AI. So thanks very much for joining us, you three. Alexander, I'll start with you. How can AI be used to create more responsible products?
Yeah, so I really believe that AI is the sort of second wave after Web 2. And we've sort of seen how Web 2 products, meaning social media and the like, released without any conception of governance and any conception of regulation can be pretty detrimental societally. I mean, you know, we're kind of living in that world now where institutions are somewhat eroded, you know, polarization is prominent, and mental health is affected. So I believe that AI it being the wave of technology following on Web 2, the Web 3 people in the room may disagree with me, by the way, but it poses an opportunity for us to really think about governance, the governance of technology, and how we should approach it to actually build systems that benefit us. Right now what is happening is we're seeing the ubiquity of digital products in every service that we work for. At the moment I'm consulting with the European Commission, and a lot of their services that were kind of person to person are now becoming digitized. So as product managers, as technology builders, we really need to think about that. And namely, I truly believe that we need to think of the risks and the potential benefits upfront before building and rolling out that technology. Mm-hmm. I think this applies particularly to AI, but I think this should actually expand to any software or technology product. And I think we should really look at things like biases, things like explainability, things like transparency, and also any other risk that might come with the products that you're rolling out. So over the weekend, we were doing a workshop in Porto with some product managers, and we were asking the question, if an AI was to diagnose an illness for you and detect, say, breast cancer, you know, what are the responsibilities and the risks around that? So I really believe that organization builders, tech builders, and product managers should think of those risks up front. And I think that they should also go beyond regulation, because regulation is lagging. And as organizational builders, we have a duty to actually innovate. And the innovation also should step into the risk mitigation, and that can turn into a benefit if you do it the right way.
Mm-hmm. Aline, we tend to focus more on environmental impact, but the social dimension is also very, very important. Before we talk about the opportunities of AI, I would like to ask you about the risks. So a bit following on the line Alexander was making, mm-hmm. What are the social impacts that we need to pay attention to?
Many risks, for sure, but the first one was misinformation, because AI can be very convincing to create text, image, videos, everything. There's not real, but as I said, it's very convincing, and if you're not able to understand deeply and search if that's real or not, maybe during this process is enough for you just to spread fake news and create a reality that is not true. And
we've been seeing that in the recent elections a lot.
Yes. And for me, it's the principal risk we have with AI, because we are putting a very strong tool in the hands of people that don't understand their language many times. So it's a very social problem, a very difficult social problem we have. So misinformation is a very complicated issue, but it's not the only one, of course. We have the problems with privacy, because AI can just spread our personal data and we don't have control about this. We have problems with security. So we have many issues we have to pay attention, but it's not something new. We know that every time we have some advanced in technology, we pass through problems like this. So it's our responsibility to understand, to create mechanisms, to validate, to organize, and to create a more secure space to grow.
So talking about the opportunity, how can AI be used to address the social issues that we have today?
Yes, technology is unstoppable. So the correct way is not to close everything and to spread the fears. Not this. I think that what we have to do is education all the time. Explain to people how this works, and not just for the universities and the people who have money, but we have to start this education by the basis. So we have to put this technology light, not just for the big centers, but mainly in our peripheries areas and poor areas as well.
So we don't have this digital segregation.
Exactly.
So Ricardo, speaking more broadly, what can AI do to help companies reach their ESG goals?
Yeah, Aline bring a very important point, like the misinformation. When we talk about artificial intelligence, in reality, there is no intelligence, right? It's just a statistical model. My company, we work with artificial intelligence as well, and we use that
It's
word.
a good catchphrase.
It is just a marketing tool. There is no intelligence, and we saw that with ChatGPT. If we ask one question, ChatGPT gives an answer. If we ask again, it's a different answer. So where is the intelligence here, right? There is no intelligence. And before that, before generative AI, companies have very difficulties to trust machine learning models. And because of that, you never saw an actual digital transformation in companies. You never saw a retailer use large amount of data to make decisions. You never saw a bank doing the same thing with the large amount of data they have, because they do not trust the data. And that's why in any market you see the decisions being made by intuition of expertise in any market. So with this generative AI, which is the models are way bigger and without any explanation, it's even more difficult to create the trust. But it is possible to go in that direction. Companies have the power, they have the data, and they have the capability to work with that data. Generative AI might be a step too far, because they already have, they do not need to use large language models. They just need to use their data to make decisions.
How can they do it?
For example, in retail space, what should be done and what they are doing. They have all this data about transactions, they have all this data about the necessities of the customer for the next month. It's possible to build very accurate forecast models, for example. But what retailers are choosing to do, they prefer to, close to the expiration date, sell the products cheaper, so they could eliminate the food waste. So instead of their optimizing their operations, they are just making under the rug all the problems. The same with logistics. Instead of optimizing their delivery scheduling with all the data that they have, they prefer to, for the ESG targets, they replace the gas vehicles with electrical ones, and that's it. We are going the right direction with the ESG, which is false. So there is no optimization, there is no usage of the models and the data. It's just going in a wrong direction.
Alexander, I believe we established that AI can be used to reach some ESG goals, at least to help reach those goals. But how do you operationalize this inside of AI teams so that it actually happens?
Yeah, I'm just curious, who of you has an AI product as part of your suite or as part of your company at all? Who uses AI in the delivery of your service? Not just chatting to ChatGPT to ask questions, but actually, okay, we've got, how many? I can't see anything, but is there anyone at the back there, or am I missing? Okay, so you guys are more curious. Okay, who intends to use or thinks they're going to use AI as part of their product suite in the next, let's say, I don't know, 2 years? 2-3 years? Okay, we've got a couple more hands. All right, interesting. So as Aline was saying, there's a real spreading of this digital technology to a lot of companies, and how you're going to operationalize this responsible AI, or whatever you want to call it, AI safety, mitigating AI risks in your company depends of course on the size. I was listening to a conversation from an academic on responsible AI last week, and she said that basically every company that will have some form of AI technology in their service, which you might guess very soon will be a large chunk of companies out there, will have an AI ethicist, which is essentially a role that is responsible for the positive societal outcomes and the actual social risks that AI poses. Now, I don't know if for a startup of 5 people, you actually need to hire an AI ethicist, but it's certainly a role that you can kind of spread, and I believe that it's a profession and a domain that everybody's going to have to learn about, because it's going to affect everyone. I'm actually doing a workshop tomorrow at noon, if any of you is interested, around really kind of getting to the nitty-gritty of the operations and how do we look at those risks. But I think there are multiple things that you need to think of. I think when you are deciding your roadmap of what technology you're going to build, what service you're going to roll out, at that moment already you need to input the actual risks that your AI might factor in. Because if I am let's say that this healthcare service already, and that I'm intending on rolling out an automated doctor app, I already at this point need to think of all the scenarios that might pan out and the risks of my service. So I need to make sure that I'm not thinking of the risks when I'm doing quality control, when I'm releasing my software, when I'm putting my product out to the market, but that I'm actually doing this up front. I think that's one thing. The other thing is, I need to be able to measure continuously and monitor and quantify the various risks that I have assessed up front. And those risks need to be monitored and need to be reviewed by the leadership team, if it's only just to have some checks and balances to make sure that everything is going smoothly. I believe that if you don't measure it, it kind of falls off of people's attention span, and if you're not continuously bringing in those metrics at the core and the center of your conversation, I believe it also falls off the table a little bit. I also think that training and education is super important. There was a study done by MIT saying that 52% of companies that have an AI product perform some amount of responsible AI in their operations, and essentially the number one reason why the other 48% didn't do it is because they didn't have the skill set, they didn't have the training, they didn't have the staff to do it. So if you have an AI product, please, I highly encourage you, or if you intend to work with an AI product, I highly encourage you to educate yourself on responsible AI. I really think that there is, Tristan Harris, who's the founder of the Center for Humane Technology, they created the Social Dilemma, the movie. Who's heard of the Social Dilemma? Yeah, okay, a few people. He said that sustainability is 20 years ahead of responsible technology. The difference between sustainability, if you look at it through, let's say, the agri-food lens or the energy lens, you're highly reliant on physical infrastructure, right? And with agri-food, you're reliant on your harvests being every season. Whereas you guys know that we're 20 years behind on AI, but it's going to go very, very fast. So I believe that the catching up will happen there. So I think it will mimic a lot of what we've seen in sustainability, of what we've seen in ESG, but through a lens of technology, with some key differences there.
Mm-hmm. So, Aline, you at VinaWeb, a company you founded, you have a model of social impact as a service.
Yes.
Can you explain us this concept and how you're applying it?
Okay. VinaWeb, or Go to the Web, is a free coding school created 80 years ago for teenagers and adults who lives in unprivileged areas. And we really wanted to educate these youngsters for free and help them to get great jobs in the technology area, because it's growing, because we need to educate people to understand technology and develop technology, and we have to do it for all and not just for a part of people. But this
That's
emotional
the purpose.
part, yes, need to sustain, and this business model needs to match with this. So our business model is we have a school who educates for free these students, and we have entrepreneurship cell where we we develop software solutions for great companies, and we use the whole money we make with this, we reinvest in the school. So it's a social impact business.
Mm-hmm.
So the same models of the social impact created by, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot the name of the creator of
Mm-hmm.
social business, but the point is, this company doesn't have an owner. We don't have one person who will receive all this money. We will always reinvest this money to grow the impact, to grow the company, to grow the benefits of all.
So it's not for profit?
It's a non-for-profit, exactly. So we are always put this in a virtual cycle to grow the social impact. That's the main objective. That's it.
And only through education or other areas?
It's for VinaWeb, it's work for the education, and for the part with the companies, it's completely together. We don't separate them. It's the same things. It's two different cells working together in the same purpose. Yes.
How many people have you already?
60.
60.
Yeah.
Okay.
60. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and obviously the idea is to grow those numbers. You have an objective.
Yeah, we are very proud to work for great companies, from banks to industries like energy and petroleum and healthcare, and we really feel proud to see our students, because I don't know, 3 years ago they just starting technology, and now they are working for great companies and developing serious software, and understanding more about technology, developing technology, not just being a user, and discussing about AI, understanding about it, and forming the next wave of students. And again, it's a cycle. They are always learning, developing, and teaching again. It's a cycle, a virtual cycle that's repeat and again, and that's make this business model alive. That's it.
Thanks. So Ricardo, one of the controversial themes about generative AI are carbon emissions. Some estimates point, for example, that making a query on general artificial intelligence model takes about 4 to 5 times more emissions than a simple search in Google, for instance. So this is a problem that big tech companies will have to solve.
Yes, definitely. Like the race right now is to build the most accurate model, and by that, the only thing that is the focus of these companies is to have the biggest amount of data and train with the biggest parameters, and that means the models will need a lot of energy to be trained. It will cost hundreds of millions of dollars to train, and that's the KPI that they use to say, hey, we have the most accurate model because it has bigger parameters, bigger amount of data, and that's not the solution. Like generative AI is not going to be the end solution for everything, because some of the problems that exist today cannot be solved with the logic that can be found on the literature of the data. Large language models are just interpreters of language. That's why it's called large language models. There is no logic behind that. Of course, you can create a constructive argument using that, but not create innovation. So if you want to solve problems in logistics, in retail, in risk management, you need to use data from that. Time-based data, not language, not Wikipedia on what comes after this sentence.
But running a generative AI model on top of that isn't going to get you to the solution.
No, because if that solution exists and the large language model was trained with that, why the problem still exists, right? So it's not a problem of finding the solution online and train on top of that. It's probably combining multiple sources and come up with something new. And that's one of the reasons why that my company is partnering with Planetiers, because if you look at all the SEG platforms that exist today, they focus on finding what the companies are doing better in terms of carbon emissions to put a KPI on it so they can report. Mm-hmm. And there is no solution in the market that try to find an optimal solution based on an actual model, based on their data, to optimize their operations and decrease the problems that these companies are causing because of the production, etc. So it is not on the language. So in the end, these generative models are great. I use that in my company. It's very productive.
I was going to ask you how at AssetFloow you use that.
For programming is great. Like when I need to program something that already exists, I'm not inventing the wheel in programming in Python or so. So I use that. They create the program for me. That's it. But for the innovation part, it depends on me and my team. For something new, it depends on our inputs. For something that exists, generative AI. So generative AI is not going to solve problems. It's just going to make us more productive.
Okay.
That's the difference. And then the question is, but all this energy consumption, does it compensate for that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. If it reached this scalability that we are doing now, probably not. Probably not.
we'll have to find more efficient ways of
Definitely.
running those models.
Definitely.
Okay. Alexander, here we have, we've been talking about another risk that AI poses, but is there a way that we can balance these risks and benefits?
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like AI is just one of those topics that falls under the remit of hyper-polarizing, hyper-dichotomy, and you just have like a fraction of the population. Like if you say the word AI, they feel fear in their whole body, and then you have a fraction of the population that feels just pure excitement and curiosity. And there's Yuval Noah Harari. By the way, I really recommend his new book, Nexus, where he talks about information systems through a historical lens, super interesting. He says, because he talks a lot about the risks of AI, and he says, I'm talking about the risks of AI not because I'm negative, but because I need to counterbalance the narrative of Silicon Valley, because nobody else is talking about it, so I feel like I have to kind of do my part. And I think when you are looking at risks versus benefits, right, with AI, and if you're, say, a product manager and you're thinking, okay, like, how do I actually add value, and how do I balance that with risks? You have three possibilities. One, which is everybody's favorite, is you go from low benefit to high benefit. So you make a feature awesome, right? Like you double the speed of a feature, and therefore adoption goes up because, you know, like how ChatGPT has this advanced conversational mode where it feels like the person is like responding right away. Almost feels like you have a friend in your phone. The second option is you mitigate a risk. So you look at something that's like a high risk, and then you erase that risk. So sometimes that's not very exciting for a founder because it's like, if nothing happens, it means I've succeeded, right? It's not sexy, there's nothing shiny, but if I don't address it, there might be catastrophic consequences for my company, right? Like, I don't know if you guys know, but I don't know if you guys know about Character AI, which is this kind of chat application where you can have a virtual girlfriend, a virtual friend, a virtual whatever the case may be. And there's a teen that allegedly sort of removed his own life last week because the chat supposedly encouraged him to do so. Yeah, and they were...
It's weird.
It was weird, yeah. Apparently the teen said, oh, I want to come home to you, and then said, come home. And then minutes after, he was gone. And the thing is, that was a risk probably that the founders were aware of, but that they sort of chose to say, you know what, we're not gonna look at that because we're balancing a feature that might increase engagement, that might increase retention, that might increase acquisition. Maybe we're going to put that budget on marketing, but we're not going to put that budget on mitigating that risk. And that backfired because...
Like in the end, you have a reputation problem, big reputational problem.
Exactly.
You're speaking a while about the ethicists, having someone responsible for the ethical use of AI inside a company. What I wanted to ask you is, having that role is enough, or regulation should make the boundaries first?
I mean, first of all, you have companies that don't necessarily comply to regulation. We have the EU AI Act that came into force in August. For most companies, the enforcement is not going to come until 2026, I believe. An AI ethicist's job, I mean, one of the tasks at hand will be to ensure regulatory compliance, but I think another role would be to be a trailblazer and to move ahead, because regulation is going to be lagging. And in the same way that companies like Nestlé are looking to define the blueprint for regenerative agriculture, I think we'll see a similar dynamic in tech where you'll see companies already like Microsoft and Google that are defining the blueprint for what responsible AI is. So I think as an AI ethicist, your job is to kind of be ahead and not just think in terms of reducing risks, but also think in terms of innovation. How can we make our algorithm more transparent than everyone else? How can we actually release features that increase trust in an actual reliable way. How can we innovate around responsibility and not just do the boring old risk damping exercise? So I think at the end of the day, I mean, you've got an easy formula. You know, you have, if you're improving the benefit, you know, that's retention, acquisition that you can quantify in dollars. And the risk, I think you got to look at the probability of your event occurring and the cost of your event occurring, right? I mean, right now, Character AI got a lawsuit. You know, the mother sued them and say that their technology is actually responsible for her son's death. And actually in California, they passed a regulation where they were looking and discussing whether they're holding developers and product managers and designers individually accountable, right? So, I mean, you got to realize when you're working on these products that you might actually end up either bankrupt or in jail if somebody's going to sue you because you didn't actually implement the correct practices. So I think the stakes are very high, and I think people should take it seriously.
Yeah, for sure. Aline, you are also the founder of a health startup called Sophia. And AI will enable also a more personalized and efficient healthcare.
Yes, and Sophia is an AI clinical reasoner. We are a large language model, as my friend here was talking about. It's an independent one, so we are not we not depend on OpenAI, for example. And basically, we are doing a ChatGPT for healthcare. So if you ask Sophia about anything else beyond healthcare, she will not understand a thing. Yes.
She will not hallucinate.
Yes.
And try to give you an answer.
Yes, just about medicine. And we are creating the most large data set of healthcare, and the main goal is to help clinicians and other healthcare professionals to do their jobs with more accurate answers, with more faster. And what we want is to create precision medicine for everyone. We want to make it accessible for everyone. So, and it's impossible to do it just with our abilities as humans, because every year, for example, we have 2 million new academic paper about medicine. So our healthcare professionals, they have a day by day completely insane. So
they don't
it's
have the
very
time
difficult.
to look at
they
everything.
don't have time to consume all of this. So Sophia is there to like a second brain to learn everything about this new medical evidences and stay together with the clinicians during the whole appointment. So Sophia hear everything and suggest in real time for the clinicians suggestions about that patient.
Okay.
So you should do this exam, you should
ask.
investigate more this way, you should try this new medicine, and present all the evidence, all the medical evidence of how she's thinking, you know. So the final answer is about the all responsibility with the clinicians, but Sophia is there to help the decision and to understand the way. So
the idea is that the patients are better treated and the treatments are more efficient.
Yeah, it's more efficiency, and what we want is to help the doctors to create the best care plan for each patient. Because today just half of the patients receive the ideal care plan because they don't have time, because everything is very fast. You don't have time to discuss with the clinicians. The clinician has to hear about the patient and write everything. So Sophia just finished with this. Sophia can hear all the appointment, structure all the data in the providers' protocols, organize all the patient data, and suggest care plans, suggest insights about each patient to create the perfect care plan fit for them.
Can it, for instance, also suggest how to inform the patient in a more clear language about his condition, for instance?
Yes, and not just this, but one of the responsibilities of Sophia is to explain for the patient as well the whole logic of this condition, because all doctors have to do this, but even the best doctor with the whole patient and when the patient stay at home alone or with her family, he wants to understand more, and Sophia is there to explain again and again. It's not a problem for her, but a clinician doesn't have time for this. So the goal is to give security for the patient and a more assertive way to the doctors and more fast appointments as well.
Mm. And do you see clinicians being wanting these kind of tools? Do you see them going for this?
Normally, the first time clinicians see Sophia, they're a little bit, I don't know if it's correct, I don't know about this intelligence, but when they start to playing with Sophia, they understand.
They have to build trust.
Yes, they start to build trust because they understand that these real-time insights help them to be more focused on the patients and help them to remember care plans and medicines, and Sophia help them to suggest ask more about this, ask more about that, investigate more this way. And so Sophia helps the doctor to create appointments more rich, more deep for the patients.
The idea is also to help healthcare systems to be more sustainable, because I mentioned if you can be more precise in the way you treat the patients,
yes,
you also save money for the patients and for the system.
Yeah, more sustainable, because Sophia helps to reduce the risks, the death risk, of course, and reduce the resources spent during the whole process. So it's good for the patients, good for the doctors, and it's good, of course, for the providers, the hospital, the clinics, because they will spend less money during the process.
Ricardo, I already understand that, and you pointed very well that generative AI it's more about a statistical model than really intelligence. Anyway, with this new AI and what it might be in the future, reasoning, etc. Can we see? We will see new use cases to be applied and emerge in the future, namely in this ESG arena. What future solutions we might see?
I've seen a lot of things come up, bad and good, using generative AI. Yes, like it was mentioned by my colleague, like this ethical thing. The reason why this happened is because It's because of humans itself that put things that is racist on the internet, and then the large language models learn with that. Aline, in this case, is not going to have that problem because it is very focused, it is very constrained. It is not trying to say we are going to build something that is more intelligent than the clinicians. But yeah, the only way large language models are able in the future to actually come up with something that is useful for ESG is when companies start to do something about it, optimizing something and release that information. By releasing that information, large language model can learn from it, and then they can show to other companies, hey, this is the solution because this is happening. So it is something that is very dependent on us as humans to do something about it, so large language model can learn from it and not otherwise. There is this thing that this study, which I find it ridiculous, that says that with generative AI is going to create more data that can then be trained with more data, and then it's going to be way more intelligent in the end, which is nonsense, because most of the data that generative AI creates, it's based on what already exists and becomes noise, because there is a lot of things that are not correct at all. So people should be careful with that, and it's like the situation that was mentioned is, if we make this out of control, we are not going to have a robot killing us. We are just going to have something telling us things that we are going to believe, and it's going to make us more stupid. And we need people inside the companies to understand if that information is real or not, and be very careful what they are going to use. Because there is a lot of situations in which lawyers make bad decisions because they went to ChatGPT or so. So it's, yeah, not right now for ESG, no. Generative AI for ESG is not a solution, because no one is actually building something to or at least at scale, to make those metrics go forward with ESG.
And let's all be very careful about
Exactly.
the judgments we make based on AI.
Exactly.
All right, Alexander, Aline, Ricardo, thanks very much.
Thank
It's a
you.
pleasure. Thank you.